All right, 1 2 1 2 in the place to be. What's up, y'all? How y'all doing out there? I am Frank Red, and this is another edition of In the Dungeon program. Off the top, I want to thank y'all for joining me on the late night tip. But there's so much to talk about, right? We're going to talk about the Golden State Warriors. Any NBA game we want to talk about is all good. Surprisingly, the Sacramento Kings let one get away and lost to the Charlotte Hornets 111 to 104. And every now and then you're going to have a clunker. Hopefully the Kings play within the near future, because when you lose a horrible game against a team that you should beat, it lingers. So the Kings are one of the better teams in the Western Conference, but sometimes players don't listen to their coaches. Sometimes they don't have it, and they lose to teams that they should not beat. Possibly because you're getting every team's best effort when you are good. So Kings fans, wallow in your sorrow for a little while and, get back on the horse and recognize you got a good team, and the Kings are going to continue to do well this year. But this was a terrible loss against the Charlotte Hornets. And conversely, it was a great win by the Charlotte Hornets for their fans. So big them up. We're going to talk about the Golden State Warriors, a team who had lost 3 straight games and 2 games in a row at home, which is not all that surprising when you consider their opponent. They played the Miami Heat, who they're going to beat some teams on the road because they show up and they fight every game. And the Warriors were thoroughly outplayed by, I think, a better team in the Dallas Mavericks on Saturday. Will the Mavericks continue to be better than the Warriors as the season unfolds? Time will tell. But Dallas is good, and they beat the Warriors without Kyrie. So tip your hat to them and lick your wounds and get ready for the next opponent, which is what the Warriors did against another formidable opponent in the Orlando Magic that actually is in first place in one of the divisions in the Eastern Conference. They got a myriad of talented young players: Paolo Banchero, Wagner, Jalen Suggs. They got a squad. Yet the Warriors found a way to get a much-needed win, 121 to 115, led by their great future Hall of Famer, Stephen Curry, 36 points. And, you talk about a hard 36. It was not easy. I can only imagine that the minute Stephen hits his bed tonight, he's going to fall asleep probably in about 3 or 4 minutes, because he got to be tired. It was a physical game. NBA teams scout extremely well. And the word is out on the Warriors. The word is out on Stephen Curry. He's not quite as fast as he used to be, obviously. Father Time has slowed him down a little bit. He still is skilled. But teams always lean on him, and they guard him with a bigger defender. And the referees are not calling as many fouls for Stephen Curry either. So the game is harder, and yet he continues to power through whatever challenge he has, leading his team in the best way that he knows how. The Warriors are now 16-17. They take on the world champion Denver Nuggets on Thursday night, in a game, again, that the Warriors usually win those high-powered games, those TNT games. Not usually, but they play big in big-time moments. So it wouldn't surprise me if the Warriors beat Denver. It's going to take a better effort than they had tonight, and tonight was solid. But when you look at the prospects of Jonathan Kuminga continuing to play better, you know what? Jonathan makes some strange comments, but maybe we need to listen a little closely because he says, listen, I'm a scorer. I'm a go-to guy. He made a couple of moves tonight that made me think, okay, you're not just a spot-up shooter at this point. His post game is evolving. He hit like a turnaround 8-foot fade. This guy is coming. And when you consider he's only 21 years old, it's really, really impressive. I think the fact that he was playing against Franz Wagner tonight, who was in his draft class and who was taken one pick after him, probably motivated Jonathan Kuminga a little bit as well. Nevertheless, the guy is a factor, and he's one of the reasons why the Warriors are winning basketball games. Klay Thompson got off to a slow start, particularly defensively. I thought Klay was just not into it defensively, but he rallied, and he was outmanned physically against Banchero, and yet Klay just stuck it out, manned up, played Banchero really physically en route to I think it was 5 for 16. And Klay had 19 points on the offensive end. So you got to big up Klay Thompson. He played really well. It was an all-around great effort. I mean, Brandon Podzinski hit some big shots in the third quarter. CP3 was his normal, steady self. Trayce Jackson-Davis continues to show strides. It was interesting. The last show that I did, I was kind of on him. And then after that, he started going off. And the reason why I'm on Trayce Jackson-Davis is because I see the potential. It's there. This dude is not your normal one-and-done rookie. He's probably 21, 22 years old, has really, really long arms, 6'10", left-handed, soft touch, great timing, 35 to 38-inch vertical, maybe 40. Go get your money. Go get your $100 million check. So I love to see players get paid. So that's why I was on him. All right, like I said, this is in the Dungeon Program. I am Frank Red. You want to make a comment, hit me up in the comments section. Or you want to listen, just check us out. All right. And we'll be with you for at least an hour, maybe a little longer. Let me go out and talk to my man, Immortal. Immortal says, I don't think we've beaten the Magic in a bit. Kuminga and TJD helped a lot. Yeah, you're right. The Magic came in here last year and beat the Warriors up. And the Wagner brothers, once again, played extremely well. I even think Jalen Suggs played that game. And it was ugly. I remember that game. So I think the Warriors were heightened coming into this game because they knew that Orlando was well coached. They're very athletic. They're well scouted. They follow the scouting report. And they got a bunch of guys on the team that want to win and want to establish themselves as NBA players. I've said numerous times, if ever there was a successor to Stephen Curry, to me it would be Jalen Suggs. I can't see Orlando letting him go. They're probably going to wrap him up long term. But I think Jalen Suggs would be a great Warrior. Does he have a game like Stephen Curry? No, he doesn't. No, not even close. But he's one of the best young two-way players in the NBA. And great attitude, great teammate, competes, 6'4" point guard, long arms, rangy. His perimeter game is getting better. He can drive, he can pass. Top-notch player. I don't know if he's quite an all-star, but hell of a player, no question. The Warriors improved to 16-17. Like I said, they take on the Denver Nuggets on Thursday night in a big-time showcase. And they took care of the Orlando Magic tonight, 121-115. An interesting thought came across my mind tonight watching the game. Let me get a swig first. nobody really knew how Andrew Wiggins was going to take coming off the bench. Surprisingly, he's played extremely well, and which is kind of puzzling, which kind of speaks to who he is. He's kind of a puzzling type of guy, but I would give him props. I would give him a big pat on the back because his contributions off the bench are helping the Warriors win games. Now, here's the thing. The better he plays off the bench, the better he plays in general, the more feasible it is that he could get traded. I don't know how Warrior fans feel about that, but I like him on the Warriors team. I just want him to play well. I like him in the Warrior community. I think he fits. He seems like he's a pretty good guy. But I want to see the Andrew Wiggins consistently from a couple of years ago that helped the Warriors beat the Celtics and winning the championship. But when you look at what Toronto has done over the past couple of days, trading Anunoby to the New York Knicks, my Knicks, for R.J. Barrett and Emmanuel Quigley, I could see a scenario where he could be traded to Toronto. Obviously, the player who the Warriors would want to take a look at is Pascal Siakam. I'll be interested in getting your comments to see if that's somebody who you want. Do you think he would fit in with the Warriors? He would give the Warriors some juice. He would give the Warriors another mid-range scorer that they don't have consistently. Now, here's the deal. Sy Majuri, one of the most successful basketball executives in the NBA, he's probably going to tell the Warriors, I want Andrew Wiggins and I want Kuminga too. Would you be willing to give up Andrew Wiggins and Kuminga to get Pascal Siakam? Because the thing with Siakam is you got to pay him. He's going to be a free agent. Andrew Wiggins' contract, from Toronto's perspective, works. He's a good player. How good he is, how consistent would he be? I don't know. But he's a talented guy. Kuminga is the wild card. And from the Warriors' perspective, it's all about, do we trust him or not? It's not likely that Steve Kerr would be the Warriors coach 5 years from now, but we don't know. It's kind of a good gig. So it's really about the owner who's writing the checks. It's about Steve Kerr, who has to coach the players. It opens up the doors of some of the other veterans possibly being traded. But I would say keep your eye on that, because Kuminga, I think, again, has proven that he's here to stay in terms of having a NBA career. When you look at Franz Wagner of the Orlando Magic, I mean, he might get extended this year. You're looking at a guy who's probably going to be what? He's going to get $150, 60, $70 million. He's a cornerstone of their franchise. I don't think the Warriors want to pay Kuminga much more than $100 million. Now, everybody watching the program now is laughing, saying, Red, $100 million? Yeah. That's where we are in professional sports, in professional basketball, particularly in the NBA. Players make a lot of money. So the Warriors have some things to think about, because they have some tradable parts, and they are in line, I think, to acquire another good player like a Pascal Siakam. And it's all a question of whether or not the Warriors think he's worth it. Do the fans think he's worth it? Does that mean that you will be committed to Draymond Green long term at that point? If he can keep himself together, can you trust him? You got a lineup of Trayce Jackson Davis, potentially Draymond Green, Pascal Siakam, obviously Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson. So it's me just kind of like thinking out loud. No draft machine. I don't worry about that crap. Let the bean counters do that. However the math needs to work, it can work. Particularly when you consider the Warriors don't have their draft pick this year. So they got to find a way to get some juice. Maybe the juice is acquired internally by developing all of their players and they play really, really well. I don't know. Maybe they go out and acquire a above average big time player to go with the parts that they have. It'd be interesting to get your thoughts on that. Once again, the Golden State Warriors were victorious tonight, 121-115 over the Orlando Magic. Stephen Curry led the Warriors with 36 points. Klay Thompson played tremendous defense on Paolo Banchero, holding him to, I don't know how many points he had, but he shot like 5 for 16, 5 for 17. Jonathan Kuminga, once again, was a force. We look at Jonathan, we keep saying, yo, you can do even more, dude. Do more. Do more. Because there's not many athletes in the NBA like Jonathan Kuminga. And his game is growing seemingly on a game-by-game basis. One of the things that was impressive tonight about the Warriors, even though they got off to a slow start en route to a 55-all tie with Orlando, they only had 8 turnovers. The last time we did a show against the Miami Heat, Jonathan Kuminga had 6 turnovers in 1 quarter. Tonight, he did all the little things well, along with all of the splash plays. I don't know if he had a turnover. Maybe he had one. I don't know. But it wasn't a factor. The Warriors as a team only had 8 turnovers. It's hard to see the Warriors losing games when they have under 10 turnovers, in spite of not making free throws tonight. Imagine if the Warriors had shot free throws well. They might have beat Orlando tonight by 15 points. So, but I'm impressed with Jonathan Kuminga. He's playing his tail off. He's maturing. He just got to be consistent. That's the frustrating, agonizing thing. Let's go ahead and talk to Mark Graves. Mark Graves says if TJD gets stronger, he can be a force at the center position. No doubt. No doubt about it. I mean, you don't find players, Mark, playing the center position. Not a whole lot of guys who are as agile as he is. He's very agile. And agility as a basketball player, it's kind of like a dancer or somebody on a trampoline. It means you're light on your feet. Trayce Jackson Davis is really light on his feet. He gets off his feet really quickly. He has long arms. He has good touch. Not as many balls were going off his hands tonight. He's getting better. But I don't want to see any balls go off his hands. Remember that pass tonight that Stephen Curry threw to him? A real simple little pass that he should have dunked. The ball just kind of goes off his fingers. So the Warriors didn't get a steal, in my opinion, with Trayce Jackson Davis. The league fell asleep. He was mis-scouted, in my opinion. This dude was a top 20 pick. The only challenge that I had with Trayce Jackson Davis coming out of Indiana, and it's starting to rear its head a little bit, is that Indiana, he shot high 60s from the free throw line. And that's probably where he is right now. And I don't think that's good enough. I think if you can get a guy like Trayce Jackson Davis who can somehow get his free throw percentage up to like 75 to 78%, This dude's going to average 15 points a game. 15, 16 points a game, 8, 9 rebounds, blocks. And I don't know if he's going to start for the rest of the year. I don't know that. And I don't think he has to start for the rest of the year. But he needs to play. One of the things that I'm concerned about watching Looney play, Looney kind of rallied in the second half, is if Looney's not starting, will we lose him? Will the Warriors lose him? He showed his professionalism tonight by coming in the second half and made a couple of nice buckets, got some rebounds, played fairly well. But that's a concern that I have, and doesn't have a whole lot of trade value. The only trade value that Looney has is he's a pro, got a great reputation, so teams wouldn't be afraid to take him as, kind of as a throw-in if they needed to make a move. But I'm concerned about his production going way down coming off the bench. Mark Graves says, how can a kid whose dad played for 18 years in the league slip in the draft? Wow. That's a great question, Mark. Mark, one thing I would say to this is these organizations separate themselves from each other. They really do. And it's not by mistake that the Miami Heat consistently draft the right player. It's, and some organizations don't. The Warriors, how have the Warriors done? I kind of think the Warriors are still living and eating really, really well off of that once-in-a-lifetime draft that they've had way back in the day with Draymond Green, Harrison Barnes, Klay Thompson, Stephen Curry. And this regime can't even take credit for Stephen Curry. That was the Don Nelson regime. But they're still eating 4 championships later. Now, maybe the Warriors will have a resurgence with this year, getting Trace Jackson Davis and Brandon Podzinski. They clearly saw something that I did not see at the beginning. So maybe they're making a resurgence in terms of how they evaluate players. I mean, you really can't forget about Jordan Poole. From a talent perspective, Jordan Poole is high level. He had some other stuff that he needed to deal with that unfortunately meant that he needed to go. He needed to be jettisoned to one of the graveyards of the NBA at this point, Washington. Although I heard Porzingis say some good things about DC. He said he really loved the community playing in Washington. He liked playing there. So maybe Jordan Poole will galvanize that group and embark a winning attitude on his teammates, and maybe in a couple of years they'll be decent. They made a lot of mistakes in the draft. They really have. So time will tell whether or not the Wizards will ultimately do anything. So one of the things I've been thinking about also over the past couple of days is Warrior fans get really frustrated. They look at their team and they're one game below 500 with a chance to get to 500 on Thursday against the world champion Denver Nuggets. But a lot of teams are struggling. It's funny because I go, how are the fans in other markets? How do the Lakers fans feel? They got a big payroll. How do the fans in Phoenix feel? How does the owner in Phoenix feel? I guess my point is, it takes time. And it might take 40 games. It might take 45 games before these teams really start to distance themselves from each other or separate themselves from each other, because the league is that good. It's also kind of a shock to your system when you have a team like the OKC Thunder who have not been good over the past 5 years. And all of a sudden, their young pups have developed. And you cannot check the box when you go to Oklahoma anymore. You can't check the box when they come to your city. So the NBA is transitioning. And at the end of the day, I think the veteran teams are still going to be the ones that's going to reign and challenge for a championship this year. Are the Warriors one of those teams? Not right now. No, they're not. Are they competitive? Do they have potential? Yes, they do. Could a big trade happen with the Warriors? Yes. Would not surprise me one bit if the Warriors said, you know what, we're going to go for it. And they traded for Siakam. But trading for Siakam is going to come with a heavy price. You're going to have to give up Kuminga and Andrew Wiggins. Both of them. So you got to ask yourself, from a Warriors management perspective, is this something we want to do? Steve Kerr, can you commit to coaching this team for X amount of years? How does this factor in with Draymond? Because this is not about the Warriors handling things internally. That's done. When Draymond comes back, hopefully he'll be great. He'll be able to function within the rules that are governed, that govern the game for everybody. And the Warriors will be successful. But it's out of the Warriors' hands. The only thing the Warriors can do with Draymond is potentially trade him. But they cannot discipline him anymore. That's not going to happen. The league is going to step in. And they used a hammer this time. I have officially lost a bet with Brian Iglesias. This is the 10th. Tonight was the 10th game that Draymond missed. So he's missed 10 games. And listening to Steve Kerr's comments, there's not any imminent horizon where he's going to walk through the door and be in the Warriors lineup. So, so maybe 15 is the number. And I don't think it's just the number. I think it's about the process. I think it's about what the task is, what the ultimate goal is for him to accomplish. I don't know what it is, and it's not really that important to me because this is cut and dry. Again, this is a make or break proposition. It isn't, what were you thinking? We have one. No. The business has superseded the player. And historically, that's been the NBA. That's professional sports in general. The big boys. Know why? Because there's so much money involved. There's not one player in this league that is so important to the NBA that they can't survive. The league would be different, but there's not one player that this league can't survive. So, interested in your thoughts or your comments on that. I love how Chris Paul's playing. If there are some people out there that still can't stand Chris Paul, I'm glad that you're silent. I'm glad that you're not making yourself look foolish by trying to build a thesis on why acquiring him was not a brilliant idea by the Golden State Warriors. Keep that to yourself. He's been awesome. He's been responsible as anybody outside of Stephen Curry for the Warriors' success this year. As responsible. Not number two, but as responsible. My man Mark Graves says, is Siakam that much better than Wiggins and JK combined in stats? I don't know. I mean, I'm not really like a big Siakam guy, to be honest with you. Like I said before, at the beginning of the show, I want Wiggins to be here. I want him to be a part of the Warriors organization. because he's a good guy. You know, I think from a culture perspective, he fits perfectly. But this is a bottom line business. And you can't have the gaps that he has in terms of his overall production. The fact that Andrew Wiggins, as the number 1 overall pick, somebody who is in his athletic prime, is coming off the bench playing 24, 25 minutes a game is unconscionable. This guy should be walking around with the torch that Stephen Curry has handed to him, playing 32, 33 minutes a game, being an all-star level player. That's the level of talent that he's one of the best two-way players in the league. When he's right, when he's at his best. Jonathan Kuminga is a wild card. He's a talented wild card. And, I don't want to compare him to a thoroughbred, a horse, but the analogy is he's somebody who's going to have to meet his coaches and the organizations that he works for halfway. He's going to have to see the big picture. I don't care where he goes. He's going to have to meet an organization in the middle that says, we're going to allow you to be yourself. We're going to help you reach your full potential, but you got to understand the role that you have within our organization. If we're going to pay you in excess of $100 million, then you got to comport yourself in a certain way. Siakam is pretty dependable. He puts numbers up. The only thing about Siakam is he wants big money. You want to pay Siakam $185 million? I don't know. I'd rather keep Wiggins' contract, which is like 3 years. You got 3 or 4 more years on it at around $25 million a year, and then pay Kuminga $100 million. The Warriors come out better by keeping their players as opposed to paying Siakam, because Siakam's not going to take less money. Siakam's already been paid. So if you want to trade for Siakam, he wants a max contract. The Warriors don't want to pay that guy a max contract. Toronto doesn't want to pay him a max contract. So, that's where the Warriors are. Can you get better with the players that you have internally, or do you have to go outside of the organization to find another guy? Because you also have Klay. Nobody's expecting Klay Thompson to make $43 million next year or more than that. I'm thinking 25 to 30 million is what the Warriors could probably stomach. If they pay more than that, that would raise my eyebrow. Maybe they could pay him 3 years for $100 million, $33 million a year. Would you pay Klay Thompson $33 million a year? If you're the Warriors. Now, if I'm OKC, I might. Because they have cover. They have cover with their younger players who are good, still hungry. They just have a lot of good players. And there's some value in Klay Thompson's leadership, which is what I think that he would sell to other organizations. His winning pedigree, his championship pedigree, and he still has some talent left. But, so he can chase some money. Klay can chase money. But if he's with the Warriors, I'm thinking $25, $30 million a year. So yeah, the Golden State Warriors were victorious, 121-115 over the Orlando Magic. If you want to talk about the Warriors, we can bounce that around. We can talk about that. The Sacramento Kings, in a shocking loss tonight, went down to the Charlotte Hornets, 111-104. We can get into some NFL as well. San Francisco 49ers have secured home field advantage throughout the playoffs. And Kyle Shanahan has a question to ask. Who do I play? Who do I sit? The relationship between Sean McVay, and Shanahan. The Rams need to win. That's not a misnomer by either organization. So it really doesn't affect the 49ers. So, I could see, the 49ers resting some guys and helping the Rams as much as they could, as much as they can. As a 49er fan, and I'm a 49er supporter, I'm not necessarily a fan, would you start Brock Purdy? Or would you sit him out and take a look at Sam Darnold? I think I would sit him out. I think I would let Sam Darnold play. That's what I would do. I'm also interested in seeing Elijah Mitchell. It was good to see him get some run last week. He got 80 yards. Unfortunately, it was because CMC, Christian McCaffrey, had a calf injury and got hurt. Hopefully he's going to be back in a couple of weeks. But Elijah Mitchell's had a tough run with injuries, and it was good to see him out there going full speed and ripping it up. So, if you got any interest in what the 49ers might do this week, I'd love to hear them. Mark Gray said the Rams are in the play. Oh, okay. Are they? Oh, I didn't know that. My bad. All right. So the Rams are in the playoffs. Yes, it doesn't even make a difference then, right? It doesn't make a difference. I definitely wouldn't start. Would you play Brock Purdy? I wouldn't play him. I would let some of the other guys play. They have home field advantage throughout the playoffs and in the NFC. Heal up, let the other teams go out and beat themselves up, and get ready for the playoffs. SG, what's up, man? No wacky stuff tonight. How are you, Frank? I'm doing great, man. So, Mark, you said no, you wouldn't play him. Okay, good job. Mark says I would sit a lot of guys. Yeah, I would too. My man Immortal says starters who can go play one quarter, then rest them. Cal said he's going to play the starter who can go. Okay. I mean, as a player, you probably want to play, Also, nobody's going to talk about this in a press conference, but a lot of these players also have incentives, right? So, I mean, it becomes about the money. If it ain't about the money, don't beat them. If it ain't about the money, that's what it's about. So you better believe if you are a player and you got some incentives around snaps, touchdowns, tackles, whatever it is, you're going to be out there playing because you want to get your money. And I'm not mad at you. That's what the fans don't really think about that I try to bring to the program. SG says the San Jose Sharks are having a really tough season. 9 straight losses is making me. Why would you be mad about the Sharks when everybody in the world knew they were going to be terrible this year? Everybody knew that. Terrible. I'm not surprised. All right, so if we got some NFL talk. I would love to see the Pittsburgh Steelers get in the playoffs. I'm a big Mike Tomlin guy. Whether or not it's going to happen, it doesn't look great. But I would love to see the Steelers get in to see if they can do something. I mean, talk about, and you could argue that Tomlin screwed up this year because if Rudolph was this good, why didn't he give him an opportunity earlier? Just because alignment because Mitchell Trubisky was number 2 when he was stinking the field up every week. Think about this. Think of the teams that Pittsburgh lost to. They could already be in the playoffs right now. So Tomlin has to take some responsibility for that. I think they could be dangerous if Pittsburgh got into the playoffs if they can score, because their defense is rock solid. And Pickens, in spite of his lack of blocking and his diva tendencies, he got to be one of the top, 5 to 7 wide receivers in the NFL in terms of ability. That guy can make catches that no one else can make. What a player. SG says, do you think the Raiders should keep head coach Antonio Pierce for 2024? Yeah, I do. Absolutely. Now, here's the thing. Because of politics, because of the eye test, I don't know if I feel comfortable giving him a long-term deal. He has very little major head coaching experience. He was a head coach at Cal Poly, tremendous high school program. He was an all-pro. He's a Super Bowl winner. He should be respected. And he was a defensive coordinator at Arizona State under the great Herm Edwards. What I would do is I would keep Antonio Pierce, and I would give him a 2-year deal. The second year, it's an option with a buyout. I would give him a guaranteed contract for next year for about $7 million. He should make a comparable salary to his peers. So I would give him a salary of $7 million next year, and I would give him a buyout for the second year for $3 or $4 million. So essentially, I would give him like a guaranteed $11 million. That's what I would do. You got to respect that. $11 million. And that would give him an opportunity to really go out and prove himself at the NFL level, because they don't even know who their quarterback's going to be next year. Aiden O'Connell has been okay, but he's playing because they did not want to play Jimmy Garoppolo and risk him getting hurt and getting guarantees in his contract. That's why he's not playing. So those are my thoughts on Antonio Pierce, who is a straight-up dog, a straight-up grinder. And I think he's done more than enough to come back next year. How do you guys feel about my proposal? That's what I think about him. Talk about irony. The much maligned Jim Harbaugh is playing in the national championship game, while his brother John is the prohibitive favorite to win the Super Bowl. Talk about family success. Pretty amazing. It really is. I've always been a Jim Harbaugh guy. And I mean, he's peculiar, but talk about a great football coach. But that's not why I'm a big Jim Harbaugh guy. I think I've told my Jim Harbaugh story. Jim Harbaugh gave Josh Johnson of Oakland Tech fame an opportunity to be his quarterback at the Division II school, San Diego. When I don't think Josh had a whole lot of college offers coming out of Oakland Tech. And apparently the story goes that Jim Harbaugh was actually looking at some other players, I think over at McClimates High School And allegedly, the McClimas High School coach said, "You know what? What else are you looking for?" He goes, "I'm looking for a quarterback." He says, "You know what? You should go see this kid, Josh Johnson, at Oakland Tech." The rest is history. Josh Johnson became one of the greatest Division II quarterbacks in the history of that level football. And I think he's the third quarterback on maybe Baltimore at this point, has had quite the run at the NFL level, 13, 14 years. And it's because Jim Harbaugh gave him an opportunity. And I'm from the hood, man. So I'm always looking at those stories that don't get publicized, that people don't know about. That was me. That was me. Somebody giving me an opportunity to play Division I basketball and changing my life. So the fact that Jim Harbaugh did that, I will always ride with him. Beyond the fact he's a phenomenal football coach. I think they're going to shut Washington down. Now, I'm not going to butcher his name, but Penix, I mean, how good is Penix? He throws a beautiful ball. Is he somebody who you see prospering at the NFL level? I don't have it figured out yet. I honestly don't. I know he throws a hell of a deep ball. The catch radius of his wide receivers is crazy. Now, Azunu, that's my one and only try. Everybody's talking about Marvin Harrison Jr. as the number one wide receiver. That kid on Washington is an absolute beast. I mean, he should be double teamed when he get off the bus. You know what I'm saying? So I think Michigan, because they play a pro style, will find a way to not stop Washington, but contain them. And Michigan's offensive line and ability to commit to the run, I think is going to be too much for Washington. Now, how Michigan beat Alabama, I'm still scratching my head. Why in the world would you play man-to-man with a lead? You think that these defensive coordinators and these people on television are brilliant? No, they're not. Why would you play man-to-man and allow Michigan to run crossing routes and run away from defenders? That was a zone defense all day. I don't get it. What are your thoughts on Jim Harbaugh coaching the Raiders if they let Antonio Pierce go? It would suck that Antonio Pierce didn't get the opportunity, because why not? Why not? Why doesn't he deserve to have the opportunity to be an NFL coach? It causes us again to look at things that we should not be looking at, like race. Because it's been proven you don't have to be a great offensive coordinator or a great defensive coordinator to be a successful head coach. When I was a child watching NFL football, did I know what Chuck Noll was? Was Chuck Noll an offensive coordinator, defensive? Didn't know, didn't care. Leader of men. That's what I knew. Players listened to him. The same way that I see Antonio Pierce. So sometimes it's about doing what's right. Give this man an opportunity. He saved your organization from being a laughingstock this year. He took a team that literally had done everything that they could do to communicate to the owner that says, we are not going to play for Josh McDaniels. None of us. And literally overnight, the reins were handed over to Antonio Pierce, and he resurrected this organization, galvanized the fan base. Isn't that worth something? I'm not saying you got to give him a long-term deal, but he should be the coach next year. Let Harbaugh go coach the Chargers. Those are my thoughts. Harbaugh would be a great fit on the Raiders. He'd be a great fit anywhere, as far as I'm concerned. The guy's a hell of a coach. Immortal, I'm with you. Harbaugh to the Chargers, yeah. I'm going with Michigan to win the college football championship over Washington. Yeah, me too. I just think they're better. Thoughts on J.J. McCarthy? I think he needs another year. Good quarterback, good talent, but literally from game 7 through 10, he was very pedestrian. And he's way behind who are perceived to be the top quarterbacks coming out in this year's draft. And I don't think he's going to light the world on fire in the championship game. I think he needs to stay in college and pull off a Jaden Daniels. Even if Harbaugh's not there, he should still be able to be one of the top quarterbacks in college football. With NIL money, he's going to make a ton of money. He looks like a model on the cover of Vogue or something like that. It's Vogue Women. I have no idea. He has model looks, engaging personality, talented cat. Go back to college, dude. Get your money. So, yeah, I got Michigan beating Washington. I know if you guys are college football fans. SG says, thoughts on Michigan pulling off the win over Alabama, which absolutely stunned them in front of the... Yeah, I like Jim Harbaugh. I'm a big Nick Saban guy. I thought Alabama was the better team, but Michigan won. And big them up for that. I wanted to see Alabama miraculously win the national championship, but I can't lose. I can't lose. I like Michigan and I like Jim Harbaugh. So should be a decent game. Washington's going to try to throw it all over the field, which I love. Yeah, should be interesting. SG, it's interesting because I was thinking to myself, we haven't heard one of your gaffes tonight. Am I asking better questions? Yes, you are. Yeah, you are. And without saying a word, you are representing yourself to our audience in a much better way. They don't even have to tell you, but they're saying to themselves, I didn't know SG had it in him. So good for you. All right. This is In the Dungeon program. I'm Frank Red, and we're talking about the NBA, NFL, national championship matchup between the Washington Huskies and the Michigan Wolverines. Who you going to go with? All right, cool it down now. Sometimes I have great things to say. Stop complimenting yourself. You guys know people who do that? I don't particularly like that. I'm a person who, everybody likes compliments, don't get me wrong. But when you are searching for compliments, particularly as a guy, it's not cool. It's not. Why can't I compliment myself? Because you should have an expectation to do well. Why do you need to compliment yourself? Let other people acknowledge your greatness. How's that? How's that? Complimenting yourself is just not cool. It's never cool. I don't think women like that. Do they like that? Do women like that level of arrogance in men? SG, everybody has some greatness in them. Everybody. Even if your greatness is making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I make great peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, by the way. I think I mentioned that because, I mean, I've seen people just kind of like gob peanut butter on Wonder Bread and jam, and it's lumpy and it's not smooth, and they just smash those two pieces of bread together and start chopping it. It turns me off. You would have think that I was designing like a porch or something at somebody's brand new house. That's how meticulous I am when it comes to making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. That thing is smooth. That peanut butter is smooth as hell. The jam, you could literally dive into the jam, and stick the landing. That's how level it is. And then I eat it. Love it. Crust or no crust? I like Wonder Bread. A lot of people don't like Wonder Bread. I'll eat the crust. And there's a backstory to that. I don't know, as like a 12, 13-year-old, my goal was to be a Division I basketball player, and I wanted to grow. And somebody told me that, watching cartoons, eating a gang of spinach, eat spinach, eat peanut butter and jelly, and drink milk. So that's what I did every day. That's what I did. I believed it. It worked. Grew to 6'6", 6'7". It worked. But from that point on, I've been in a love affair with peanut butter and jelly on Wonder Bread. Still to this day, I love it. SG says, I make some great scrambled eggs in the morning. Yeah, you know what? Don't mess with my eggs, dude. I love eggs. But the drippy drip, I can't get down with that, man. I like my eggs scrambled hard. My calling card. I love scrambled eggs with some cheese on top, man. And I'm a good cook too, man. But I those runny eggs, I can't deal with that. What's your go-to jam flavor? You see me smiling, right? It's Welch's grape. Welch's grape. Man, I love Welch's grape jam. Woo. What's yours, Mark? I'm a simple man. I remember one time. This is crazy. I might have told a story before. Oh, Concord grape. I love that. Oh yeah, Concord grape is good too. I can ride with Concord grape. Yeah, I love that. I remember one time I met this woman who she happened to be a brainiac and a model. I don't know what the hell she was doing with me. I have no idea. But she said, yo, I want to spend some time with you. And right before I hung out with her for like a month. And then she moved to New York to start a modeling career. But I remember we got into a conversation about things that we did well. And I literally didn't have like a dime to my name, and feeling out of place and not all that. And she goes, well, what do you do really well? I go, well, I can make you a great peanut butter and jelly sandwich. She said, show me. She started laughing. She said, show me. And I made her peanut butter and jelly sandwich with some milk. She ate that sucker. I was smiling from ear to ear like I am now. I'll keep the rest between she and I. All right. The rest is history. All right. Good time. SG says, I love Smucker's strawberry jelly. I don't like strawberry because you have like the little strawberry little things in there. Yes, I don't like that. I'm very meticulous. And she says, I like, is that mimosas? Is that it? Yeah. I thought we're talking about sports and now we're talking about food. We're talking about whatever we want to talk about, man. It's entertainment. It's entertainment. You want a cyborg on the show? I'm not a cyborg. I have so many interests, man. I'm interested in a lot of different things. I love that about myself. I do. And that's not a compliment, that's a reality. Because I can entertain myself in a lot of different ways. Classic rock and roll, woo! That's my go-to, man. Love it. Love it. Love that music. Love hip hop. Love soul music. Love cooking. I had a milestone this weekend. For the first time, I made red beans and rice. And I followed my mom's recipe, and I absolutely crushed it. You would have thought I scored 30. When it all came together, and I dipped the cornbread in there, it was so good. I was a happy man. All right. I also wanted to touch on, as you guys know, I am a really, really big movie guy. I'm a writer, I'm a screenwriter, and I just love film. I think I like writing more. I mean, the combination, I think it's telling stories. That's what I love to do. I love to tell stories. I've seen all the movies. So I'm your go-to guy. You know, I'm not Roger Ebert. I'm not, although I don't know, Ebert and who's the other guy? One guy is no longer with us right now. I know that. Hopefully one guy's still alive. But I'm a movie guy. In terms of the Oscars, Bradley Cooper did his thing. Maestro's gonna win. Cisco and Ebert. Mark, I don't know where I'd be without you, dude. You're always bailing me out, man. Thank you. Yeah. Ebert is the gentleman who has passed, I believe. R.I.P. Cisco. I think Cisco's still alive. Maestro, to me, is the best movie that I've seen this year. And I'm even more impressed with it because Bradley Cooper starred in the movie. He has a co-writing credit. I'm sure he had a great writer, but he has a co-writing credit. And he directed the movie. There's so many things happening in that movie. For him to direct it would have been enough. But for him to play a pretty complicated character in Leonard Bernstein, the great conductor and composer of, I guess, the 1960s, around that time, I guess, who lived a pretty unique life. I'll just say that. I don't want to spoil it for you. But Bradley Cooper was phenomenal. And, Bradley Cooper, there's a sports connection because he's a big-time Eagles fan. And I always look a little closer to people like Bradley Cooper who has movie star looks. I mean, he's a really good-looking guy. Of Hangover fame. That was his first big break. And the thing is, it's like, you can kind of go through life just being the good-looking guy. Getting parts, making a lot of money, being patted on the back. And at the end of the day, you look at what you've done and maybe you feel good about yourself, but you question if you have reached your full potential. Bradley Cooper had a moment. He had an illustrious moment in film history. this film, Maestro, will outlive him. You know, it's something that his kids will feel proud about. It's kind of like you and I looking at old films of Albert Hitchcock and having some type of allegiance to that level of greatness. Gone with the Wind, Albert and Costello, Lucille Ball, Sidney Poitier, all of these legends. I think Bradley Cooper took a step forward to immortalize himself as somebody who did something special. I saw an interview on Variety Online that I would recommend to everybody watching this program. Spike Lee interviewed Bradley Cooper for Variety, and they were loving on each other and kind of gushing about how much they admire each other and stuff like that. But Bradley Cooper, he's a real guy. He's a real guy. He showed Maestro to Spike Lee's film class and did some other things. The producers on this movie was Steven Spielberg and Martin Scorsese. So that lets you know that's like Dr. Dre producing Eminem's first album. He don't touch anything that's not going to blow up. All right. It's like Dr. Dre being associated with 50 Cent. He don't touch anything that's not top notch. So, and Carey Mulligan, who played Leonard Bernstein's wife, was equally fantastic. I think she's going to win the Oscar for Best Female Lead. I think she was great. Tragic story. I'm not going to give it away. I'm not going to tell you anything about it. If you like film, then go check it out. I also saw American Fiction that has the great Jeremy Wright in there. It has Ellis Ross in that too. Sterling K. Brown was phenomenal. But I think Jeffrey Wright's going to win an Oscar this year for American Fiction for Best Role in Comedy. He was great. And everybody who follows film knows how great and versatile Jeffrey Wright is. He's been in spy movies, Mission Impossible. I think, is it Mission Impossible or James Bond? I'm not quite sure. He's been in a couple. But really, really talented brother. He's going to win. Immortal says Oppenheimer is going to win Best Picture. You think so? I think Maestro is going to win. Immortal says both critics passed, I think, Frank. What do you mean by that? I don't know what that means. SG says, I'm a big fan of West Side Story, and that's the musical that gave Leonard Bernstein his fame. All right. SG, this is your best appearance on the In the Dungeon show. You've basically, in one show, rewritten your legacy. How do you feel about that? That is a nugget, dude. I love Oppenheimer and Barbie. Okay. I didn't see Barbie, so I can't really hate on it. I didn't see it. Not my tempo. Immortal says Bradley is ultimately a character actor like Brad Pitt. Both have superstar looks, but take on non-typecasted roles. Yeah, I mean, when I look at Bradley Cooper really getting his start in Hangover, to look at some of the things that he's been able to do, I respect it, man. I respect it. I'm never going to be stereotyped. Never. I'm never going to fit nicely in a box. I'm always going to peek behind the door that nobody else wants to peek behind to see what's behind there. I love learning. I'm a lifelong learner, man. I love learning. I love exploring. I love talking to people. My man Abdulio says, "What's up, Frank? It's been a while since I've seen a great film in theaters. I heard Godzilla -1 was an awesome film, not just a blockbuster." It's funny, Abdulio. My friend told me the same thing. I was like, what? He was like, yo, Red, that Godzilla movie is legit. So that's not a movie that I would think about going to see, but I gotta go see it. SG says, I feel stoked. You should feel stoked. You should. Immortal says Jeffrey Wright is underrated. Not anymore. Now, here's the thing, Immortal. He's probably underrated by people who don't follow film all that closely. But the pros know, the real G's know how talented that dude is. He's outstanding. He really is. When you go to the movies, do you like to order popcorn or butter? Nah, man. I sneak in stuff. You kidding me? Pay all that money for that crap. You know? I sneak in a couple of Hershey bars with almond, you know? I have my friend put my soda in a pocketbook, you know? Yeah, no. The only time I pay, and I actually did pay the last time, is if I'm going to like a traditional movie theater that's about the community, that's only open to serve the community, then yeah, I'll buy a ticket, I'll pay for overpriced popcorn and sodas just because I'm trying to help the community. But if I'm going to like an AMC or one of these corporate entities, I sneak everything in. I suggest you do that too. Immortal says, don't you get caught up in sneaking food into the movie theater. Man, I grew up poor, man. You kidding me? Immortal says, love Jeffrey Wright in the Boardwalk Empire show. I didn't know he was in that. Wow. I gotta dust off my I gotta utilize my HBO Max. Jeffrey Wright's in that? He was in the original Superfly with Samuel Jackson. Did you know that? It was really good too. SG says, he goes, you're entertaining and I love your laugh. Oh yeah? It's good to laugh sometimes. Immortal says, you're bright, Frank. Or is it, you're right, Frank? Okay, you're right. You're right, Frank. He just hasn't had a big role, but I remember first seeing him in Shaft with Samuel Jackson. Yeah, well, this is, yeah, I got it. This is that role, Immortal. Go out and see American Fiction. I think that you'll be pleasantly surprised and happy. As she said, you should be a comedian. No, I love that. I leave that to other people. I don't know, man. You keep acting like a normal person. Yeah, it's a possibility. You can't come on In the Dungeon show and embarrass yourself and not have excellent sports takes, though. It is a sports show, but you know, it could happen. Who knows? All right, I can't do no more. Golden State Warriors were victorious tonight, 121-115 over the Orlando Magic. They take on the world champion Denver Nuggets on Thursday night. We're going to do a show on Thursday night following the game, and I am excited to do that. I wish everybody nothing but the best as we embark on a new year, 2024. The most important thing to me is calmness and health. I wish everybody to have wonderful health in 2024. Don't miss the little things. It is the little things that matter most as far as I'm concerned. And yeah, this is a pleasure and an honor to do this show. And thank you for checking me out. The last show actually had a milestone. I'm not going to tell you how many people listened, but it was quite a bit. Quite a bit of people listened to the show, and it's all because of you. So thank you. I really appreciate that. Can I join you? We can talk about it. Hit me up. Immortal says, I've seen the trailer recently. I think it's a true story. Are you talking about American Fiction, Immortal? What are you talking about? Hit me up. Let me know before I go. Oh, okay. Okay. Jeffrey Wright was on Boardwalk the last two seasons, 4 and 5. Now you said you've seen the trailer recently. I think it's a true story. What are you talking about? Are you talking about American Fiction? Issa Rae's in it as well. She's in American Fiction. They had a tight ass cast. Sterling K. Brown, as you all know, I mean that dude's a big time actor. Awesome actor. Heavyweight. Are you giving me one more? Yeah, I am, but I'll decide when. Issa Rae was in Barbie. Yeah, I saw that. She getting a bag. Issa Rae is she know how to get money. All right. You know, she know how to get money. She know how to diversify. She's very she's very open to the type of roles that she takes on. A lot of different genres. Smart woman. Went to Stanford, actually. Issa Rae went to Stanford with Richard Sherman. She was there when Richard Sherman was there. Yeah. All right, everybody. I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to get out of here. I want to thank you for checking me out. SG, hit me up privately, and we can talk. All right? I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to get out of here. Success in getting paid is a manifestation of the whole process. If you as an individual don't do things to help other people make their lives better, as far as I'm concerned, you haven't done anything. If you like the show, you're checking it out for the first time, hit the subscribe button. It definitely helps the show. Hit me up on X at Big Frank Red, right there on your screen, right there. I like to converse back and forth. And I'll talk to you on Thursday night following the Warriors and the Denver Nuggets. Immortal says, yes, American Fiction was what we were talking about. My man Mark Graves says, later, Frank. Peace, my brother. And with that said, peace.